So what was your journey to New York City? How did you make ends meet living there? And then we'll get to some other questions, but what was your journey there and how did you make ends meet? Because people always want to know that. It's expensive.
Well, yeah, it is expensive. So I graduated and then I went and did like a month gig somewhere. So I had like a little bit of money saved up. I think in my bank account, I had like $1,500, which is nothing, as you know, in New York.
That's maybe back then a month.
Yeah, it was enough for me to pay for a month of rent, and maybe have a little bit left over because I was sharing an apartment with a college friend. And so I literally packed up my car and drove to New York with $1,500 in my bank account, moved in with one of my friends from college, and went out that night. I think the night that I got there, I went out in my little like dressy outfit and walked into 3 restaurants. And the 3rd restaurant I walked into hired me on the spot. And I started shadowing that night. And so I had a job. My first day in New York, I got a job. And I stayed there for a year until I left after getting my first gig. And I met some people that I'm still friends with at that restaurant.
Amazing.
So it really was great. And it paid my bills. And I mean, it really did. It did what it needed to do for me there in New York at that time. It gave me the security that I needed to get through. There was like 1 month that I didn't make very much money. And I had to call my mom and be like, hey, I need about $300 to pay the bills this month. And I paid it back. But most of the time I was working on Broadway. So like not on Broadway, of course, but like on the street Broadway. And that's where the restaurant was, like Broadway and 45th Street. And so we had like the theater crowd and all of that coming into the restaurant. And I think there was just like 1 bad month in the summer where we weren't very busy, but for the rest of the time, man, it really did. It's how I supported myself there for at least for the first year of my time in New York.
Amazing.
Yeah, pretty neat.
And it's pretty flexible too, so that you could take your auditions as needed.
Oh yeah, well, which is the only reason to get a waitressing job in the city is, it's easy money and, well, not easy, it's hard work, but
yeah,
I would work 4 shifts a week, from like 4 to 11, and I would make enough money to pay my bills. So, you can't beat it, really.
That. Yeah, no, that it is kind of stereotypical.
It is, definitely.
but that's why it's stereotypical, because that is exactly what you need in order to get auditions and to pay your bills.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. For sure.
Yeah. So why did you leave the city?
Well, I left the city because my husband got offered a job at a university in Florida. So, I had a baby. That happened. I actually performed through my 6th month of pregnancy.
Wow.
I was a pregnant Joanna in Sweeney Todd, and I was a pregnant Belle in Beauty and the Beast. And by that time, like, I just really couldn't go any further. Like 6 months was it. Like I was showing, and I was really showing. So, so we had this kid, and I took some time off to raise him. Like I took 3 years off from performing to raise my son, because I wanted to be the one to do that. And my husband was good enough to like cater and, make the money for the family. And he had always said, I guess from the first moment I met him, he said he wanted to be in academia. And so he started putting these resumes in, and one came through, and it was my first job since having my baby. I was away at Flat Rock Playhouse. I was doing some Rodgers and Hammerstein review or something there, and he called and he was like, hey, what do you think about moving to Naples, Florida? And I was like, oh, okay. So I felt like it was his turn, So yeah. We came here, and I was like, just for 3 years. We're just staying for 3 years. That's it, because I'm going back to New York. I don't know about you, but I'm not done there yet. And 3 years turned into 8. We're still here. And so I ended up a year after he started working at the university, Florida Gulf Coast. I got a job there as an adjunct, and I've been there ever since. So, and then also started my own business down here, teaching voice. So things just kind of, my son was settled. It's a good living, we're not struggling, thank God. And we know what that is like. And this is better than that. And so we bought our first house, and I have a car, he has a car. Like, it was just like all of a sudden we're living like this totally different life than New York. It's crazy. We got a dog. Like, who are we? I don't recognize us, but this is who we are now. So
you are, well, no, I mean, you have created a life that you started with a career in performing, in the performing arts.
Oh, and I'm still performing.
You've carried it over. And what a great area, actually, because I know that area very well too. There are so many performing opportunities, especially during like the snowbird season. You've got tons of performance opportunities.
There's great theaters here. So we have Theater Zone, we have Florida Rep, we have Gulf Shore, we have, it's just the orchestras, which I actually found my niche, I guess, I sing with the orchestras. Like, they hire me to sing with them. It's crazy to me, but they do. They call me and they say, hey, you want to do a concert? And I say yes. And then I'm on stage with a 60-piece orchestra. That's very strange. So yeah, things are not so bad in Florida for the performing arts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're doing just fine. And you could always go back to New York, right?
Well, I say to my husband now, I'm not sure we could ever go back, because we're used to, we went from a 450 square foot apartment to our house where I have a walk-in closet, and like, what would we do with all of our stuff?
It's really hard to go back. I'm not saying move back, but you've done a cabaret, you've written your own cabaret.
Yes, yeah.
You can always go back up into that.
I went back and performed that there, and I could totally do that again. It never is out of my mind. So I dream about New York. In my dreams, I'm in New York all the time. And it's never out of my mind that I'm, I could ever, maybe when my son graduates from high school and he doesn't need me anymore, like, I can go back for a couple of months and sublet an apartment and just audition again and see what happens. It's always there. That's the thing about the business. The business is always there. It's ever changing, and you have to keep up with what's happening and what the new trends are and all the things that are going on now. It's always changing, but it's always there. Yep. Maybe except for right now, it's not there because.
Well, this is the time, and that I tell my students, this is the time that you hone your skills, you really learn technique, get that.
Yeah, use it. Use this time, because guess what? It will be back.
It'll be back.
I told you this a few months ago. It will be back.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And it already is. It's already starting to come back, in Florida in particular.
Especially in Florida.
Yeah. Now, aren't you happy you made the move to Florida and you're not in New York now?
Exactly. Yes, actually, yes.
So yeah, I mean, you're much better off here getting the gigs that you're getting, same with me, I'm very grateful to be in an area where I can, but we have to do it with caution because we're singers. If we get sick, then we don't have a gig.
Exactly.
So we have to take care of ourselves and follow that protocol that, that the CDC and WHO recommend and all that.